Oi Sashi Buddy. Japan by River Cruise is made possible thanks to those who donate to the show at japanbyrivercruise.com, that's you, and also due to the generosity of our corporate sponsors. This week we've taken sponsorship money and offered airtime to an anti-Japanese organisation. Here is their message.
What's up, everybody? This is Jordan from the Florida chapter of We Hate Japan, Japan Haters International. And I just wanted to come on and set the record straight. Ever since that doughy little biscuit Abe made his remarks last week saying that people who don't want the Olympics to go ahead hate Japan, we've been getting a lot of press requests from journos who want to know, why are we so against the Olympics? And it's like, first of all, journalists are the enemy of the public, so they can eat a dick. And second of all, are you joking us right now? Like, are you joking us? Anti-Olympics? What? We are 100% in favor of Tokyo hosting the games, bro. Our position, to be clear, is that we hate Japan. You're telling us Japan is going to do something that damages the economy, threatens their public health, and makes them look like total dicks in the eyes of the whole world? Yes, please. I mean, if the shitstorm we've seen so far is any indication, with all the media outlets, from the BBC and the New York Times all the way down to this shitty podcast, it's like the Olympics is the Olympics of dunking on Japan. So do the games. Let everyone into all of the stadiums and let only certain people onto certain elevators. All of this very much aligns with our mission statement, which is Japan. So that's all we're going to say. Stop calling us for sound bites, and remember, we'll hate Japan for as long as we live, or until an Asian girl finally agrees to go out with us. Hello, Brian, and welcome back to Japan by River Cruise. I'm Bobby Judo.
And I'm Ollie Horn.
And joining us this week is Meshida, stand-up comedian, Airbnb experience host, and guy who's super gracious about us doing one of his jokes on our Twitter. Meshida, apologies for not having you on sooner. After some media scrutiny, our show has just recently revised our guest policy from foreigner only to foreigner priority. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Bobby and Ori. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to join this podcast. Thank you. Arigato.
On this week's show, we have 2 weeks worth of Olympic news to catch up on. We don't want to catch up on it. We actually tried to avoid it, but goddamn, these games are to this podcast what the Trump presidency was to every late night show in America. Although it's not really fair to compare the Tokyo Olympics and Trump. After all, Trump did a much better job of handling the coronavirus. Plus, Ollie's got your weekly River Cruise recommendation. Ollie?
Yes, Bobby, given the news that the initial illuminated C in the Canal City sign in Fukuoka has gone out, the management team have decided to double down on the publicity generated and have chartered a cruise straight down their man-made canal to join with the Nakasu Red Light District. Additionally, rumour has it that all Nippon Airlines are considering adding an L to their name to jockey for a valuable sponsorship deal too.
Let no one say that Japan by River Cruise is afraid to do a visual gag in podcast form. Also, a river cruise boat that pulls right up to your doorstep? We'll try to find the silver lining in the cloud that is Japan's flood season. But first, Soap Talk. Brian, how's your English teaching job going?
I'm a forensic toxicologist.
Okay. Meshida, just before we started recording, I saw that there was yet another beautiful Olympic gaffe, which is the IOC president accidentally said Chinese instead of Japanese. Not in the context of ordering food, but about talking about the host nation of the games which he's supposed to be presiding over. As a Korean person, how do you feel about this?
That's very funny for me. Yeah. But I think for us, for Japanese people, it's the most racist remark.
It's such a stupid gaffe, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe he already got many money from China. Now he just think about next China and a Beijing Olympics, you know.
Yeah, right.
His mind is already on the next deposit into his bank account.
Yeah.
Now, Bobby, if you were tasked with the interpretation job,
Oh, man.
what would you do?
So as an interpreter, one of the things that's really hard for me is that you're not allowed to inject your own opinion or your own
You can't
take.
do jokes.
You can't do jokes. You can't do jokes. Your job is to say exactly what the person says, no matter what you think of it. And the translator who was working this press conference was so kind because she did not say 中国人. Yeah, そんでもなくて日本人. She did not translate that. She went. He clearly meant to say only Japanese people, and she only translated Japanese people. But as Meshida, as you very clearly pointed out, if there's one English phrase that Japanese people are very ready to identify, it's the phrase Chinese people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby, imagine. I'm not sorry, Bobby. Ori, sorry, I made a mistake again. Sorry.
If you just did the same thing.
Yeah, Ori, imagine. So you guys hosted the London Olympics, okay?
Yeah.
So before hosting the London Olympics, so IOC's leader visit your country, and if he said, "Oh, this Olympics is all for the Americans," British. What do you feel?
To be honest, I kind of would agree because I think the big sponsors are Coca-Cola and some of the oil companies. I think all the money does actually ultimately go back to America.
Oh, okay.
So again, this would probably be another one of those slip of the tongues which reveals some wider truth.
Okay.
But I get your point. We were talking in the extras about how one of your primary source of income was doing an Airbnb experience, which I watched a few times. I helped you out with some of the writing.
Thank you, Bobby. Yeah, you helped me a lot. Yeah.
That's Ollie.
My name is not Bobby.
Sorry.
Jesus Christ.
Ollie, how would you feel if someone confused you for an American? Wouldn't that be so insulting, Ollie?
Ma'am, I'm not even going to bother. I was going to be singing this stupid man's praises, this silly Chinese man's praises. Anyway, I was going to say your Airbnb experience was really, really good, and you did a really good 1 hour show all about Japan from the perspective of a foreign tourist. And I was going to invite you to share one of your favorite jokes or stories with the listeners, but now I'm not going to.
I will. And further cement the image in your head that's already in there that Bobby is the good one. Of your comedy and the Airbnb experience, what kind of jokes do the tourists enjoy the most?
I think their favorite jokes like a gaijin joke because most of the foreign tourists don't know. We call foreigners as gaijin, gaikokujin, gaijin. So, and then the joke is, so my American friend said, gaijins are racist. I said, what? No, we are not racist because we don't categorize white people, black people, Asian people, Jewish people. You guys are all gaijins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of jokes. They really like it. Yeah, you guys don't laugh so much, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the tourists will laugh at that because they haven't lived here long enough to have...
Yeah.
Look, from the perspective of your friend and his comics, yeah, we get it. The joke works.
It's a joke.
But also,
it's a workable joke, yeah.
Yeah, it's a joke.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do tourists know the word gaijin?
Some tourists know that. Some tourists don't know that. Yeah.
I still really love that idea of that laugh for that joke being like, ha, 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 we don't have to live here.
Yeah.
Right, Bobby, do we have any correspondence from our listeners this week? We've once again got a veritable deluge. We got, for the first time in a long time, 2 messages via our fax button on our website, japanbyrivercruise.com, which I think shows that people mail us when we don't post a show. We got a message from Brian. It says, Dear Bobby and Ollie, the first time you referenced reaching out to you on the show, you said it would be pathetic to do so, and I'm just wondering how I can be less pathetic, which is an interesting message, because either this person heard this in real time 2 years ago and has been wondering this the whole time, or they're so pathetic that they went back and listened to our whole back catalog. Well, I think it's very sweet, and I like the fact... Well, I really like it when there are new entrants to this boat. Yeah. Because I think it's every single week it must get harder and harder and harder to jump aboard. It's like the first... I'm going to take this analogy to wherever I can. Bobby, I might need your help. The first voyage is like a little pedalo. Everyone's welcome aboard. Now we've not only built like a big cruise ship. In order to jump on it, you've got to like
ascend ladders made of innuendo, and you've got to go through a Takeshi's Castle style maze of in-jokes, and to finally end up, 1 in 3 doors opens up into something which might potentially be problematic. So in order to actually end up and enjoy the show, it means you've put a lot of work in, particularly if you've gone through the back catalogue. So thank you. If you are part of that small group of people who has joined the show in the past few months, but has managed to go back over the last 90 episodes, please do get in touch and let us know which one was your favourite.
Our next message is from Brian in Fukuoka. Brian in Fukuoka writes, I really enjoyed the recent chat with Dogen, particularly all the details of the creators and their respective processes. I'm ashamed to admit that it never occurred to me that Bobby's daughter's one-liners on social media were actually written by Bobby. Now I feel bad for repeatedly telling you that your daughters are funnier than you. Ollie, if anyone is writing your one-liners, please let me know and I'll retract my remarks.
Oh yeah, Bobby's kids.
Claire bought us 3 coffees. She's gone through our back catalog as well. So piling on the pathos. Thank you very much, Claire. She says, I love the depth and range of the topics you've covered. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Claire. And with that, let's jump into the news. Bobby Judo, what's in the news this week?
Well, we've got to go back 2 weeks because we took last week off in no small part due to Olympic news fatigue, which means we have 2 weeks of Olympic news to catch up on. Shouldn't be too much to deal with. Let me just pull up what's been happening in the last 2. Whoa! Oh my God! There's a lot of stuff. First thing, the big story, the decision was finally reached. We were predicting this from a while back, but the decision was finally reached to hold the Olympics without spectators.
I did it. I did it.
Ollie did it. This is thanks to Ollie.
When they put out some nonsense press statement about how they might reduce the spectators to 10,000, and everyone was going, "That's ridiculous." I was saying, no, this is a good trend. just let the number slowly decline to zero.
Getting closer to zero.
Exactly. Once we've got rid of all of the spectators, then we get rid of all the athletes, and it's done.
So, Meshida, we should start by asking, as the representative Japanese person who lives in Tokyo, what's your general take on the Olympics?
So, actually, first of all, I can believe why it's so long time, because just 2 weeks before we decided to host it without spectators. It's too late. So, first of all, I'm so disappointed. We should decide, maybe 2 or 3 months before, even though I know that under this corona pandemic. Yeah. And then we will host Olympic without spectators. It means audience are only like IOC's family and the members. It's kind of like a very weird, just few white rich people watch Olympics, and why we have to organize it, for IOC's family and the members. I know. Of course, it's broadcasted, but as a spectators, it's so weird.
It's very, very much kind of like Roman Empire bread and circuses. You've got like the the elite ruling class watching from their box.
Yeah.
As a Tokyoite who is very heavily invested in the tourism industry and welcoming non-Japanese people to your country, what were you hoping for? What was the best case scenario?
The reason why we decided to host Olympic, because there are many foreign tourists will come to Japan, and then they spend a lot of money and they stayed in a hotel. It's good for our economy. But first of all, when we decide not accept foreign spectators, I mean, actually we don't need to have Olympics, for economical reasons. Yeah.
Exactly.
This is really, really funny because both, Ali, you're not in Japan anymore, but for me in the entertainment industry and for Meshida in the entertainment / tourism industry in Tokyo, this was supposed to be, 2020 was supposed to be a boom year. It was supposed to be huge for us financially, right?
Yeah.
Had this gone through, Meshida, you would have had lots of tourists to stay in your Airbnbs and go to your experience and come to your shows.
Yeah, of course. That's why the reason why I started, organizing a show in Tokyo, because it was Olympics, because I thought, I can host a big comedy show during Olympics. I can get a lot of money that's a good opportunity for me to
Well,
be famous or something like that. Yeah.
Some of the best comedy Fukuoka shows were when they were having the rugby here.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. However, what Meshida has said is true, that the Olympics never needed to happen.
Yeah.
All of the money was being made because of the build-up and the excitement to the Olympics and people coming in anticipation, and investment being made because the Olympics were due to happen.
Yeah.
The best case scenario for Tokyo would have been a promise for the Olympics for 5 years and then them not happening. Basically the monorail scenario.
I have, as much as I appreciate the Simpsons reference, I have to disagree, because the tourists coming in during that period of the Olympics would have required the need for entertainment. They'd have a need for, bilingual MCs, bilingual reporters, which would be where I would come in. They would have, a need for entertainment and hospitality for the people who were actually staying there, which is where Meshida would come in. There was all of this real demand that would have been very financially beneficial for us. And the funny thing to me is that while so many Japanese people go, we need to have the Olympics, we need to have the Olympics for the sake of the athletes and their dreams, there's also a huge contingent of people like me and Meshida that go, no tourists? Fuck it, Olympics are meaningless.
That's our honne, Our tatemae said, Olympic is for, kind of athletes festival, they give us a lot of opportunity to love sport and doing sports exercise. But honne is like money,
Yeah.
We need the money. Yeah.
One of the big Japanese narratives around sporting events is about the kando, about the emotional sensation that you feel of being moved when you see somebody, achieve a victory or live out their athletic dream. And for me, that kando, that moment of emotional movement of kando is when I see that deposit into my bank account.
Yeah.
So for people like me who are not in Tokyo, well, Bobby's not in Tokyo either, what is it like on a day-to-day basis? Is there like Olympic stuff everywhere, like signs and, event infrastructure? Does it even feel like the Olympics is there?
I don't think so now. Yeah, because
was this one big scam? Was there ever a plan to do the Olympics? Did all they ever want to do is just cut down some trees and flog some Coca-Cola advertising space?
It's weird to see stuff that's still branded Tokyo Olympics. Like Asahi beer is still branded like Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
Yeah.
Soon it's going to go off.
Yeah, I can believe we will host Olympic now in this situation. But yeah. That's my feeling, And then, to be honest, most of Japanese people, even now 2 weeks before, we think, okay, we will do it or not. Either one is fine. That's our honest feeling, maybe. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Well, there's already been news about Olympic athletes being infected. I think there were members from the Ugandan team who were infected. Serbian athlete was infected. And then there's also related infections that are hitting the news kind of like daily. When you see the news that Japan spent all this time saying, we're taking all of these precautions, we're taking all of these anti-coronavirus measures, and then you see the news that it's spreading, that they're making plans for no-ko seishokusha, people who've interacted with infected people, to still be able to participate in the Olympics during their quarantine. How do you feel about that kind of news?
How do I feel? Yeah, of course, someone get infected because, the coronavirus. It's impossible to, no one infected. So we have to deal with it, but I think we are not good at dealing with that, We just try to, we are panic now, What should I do,
Do you get the sense that people are concerned about person-to-person transmission of the virus?
I think now in Tokyo, I'm living in the east side of Tokyo, Asakusa, Ueno area.
Where the tourists used to be.
Yeah. But now people don't care because in the night, to be honest, now actually we are in the fourth state emergency. So actually it started like this Monday. So I didn't go out. So but before, so people don't care. People drinking without a mask and enjoy chatting everywhere. So
you've got this new state of emergency, numbers on the rise in Tokyo. I saw a political cartoon, kind of like this Shitokama manga, that somebody had written about Baha Kaicho, about Olympic chief Bach arriving in Japan, and it was a cartoon of him kind of like surfing into Japan on the fifth wave. It was Hokusai's Great Wave.
That's a great cartoon.
It was the fifth wave, and he was
yeah.
So how do you feel when you see somebody like Baha Kaicho, who's here getting paid to be here, kind of like the Japanese taxpayer dime?
Yeah, we hate Baha Kaicho. Because, first of all, I think our contract had a problem, the Japan and the IOC, because it is said that if something irregular things, the problem happened, and then if we have to cancel the Olympic, so we have to pay everything, IOC doesn't pay anything. Tokyo and then our Olympic committees have to pay. That's why we cannot cancel the Olympics, because we don't want to pay.
I don't know, Meshida. I just think it's a bit rich that someone that's made his fortune on Airbnb is all of a sudden now upset about a strict cancellation policy.
Also, has anyone in the Japanese Twitter sphere or news sphere made the Baha Kaicho more like Baka Kaicho joke?
Yeah.
So just to interrupt there, Bobby gave me a look as if to go, well, if Ollie got there first, it can't be that good a joke.
I was waiting for you to do it. I was like, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. And you didn't, and I had to.
Baha Kaicho, more like Baka Kai no.
Yeah, but we Japanese like, I don't know, I forgot, but one American magazine called Baha Kaicho, like a Bottakuri Kaicho, like a lift of something.
Robber Baron. Yeah.
We translate
Baron von Robber or something.
Yeah, and then someone translate it to Japanese, like a Bottakuri Kaicho. Bottakuri, Bottakuri?
Yeah.
That word become very popular on Twitter now.
Bottakuri is like selling something cheap for very, very expensive, right? Like stealing money, basically.
Yeah, kind of. That's a word, I think. Name, we really love it. But now, I think we love Baka Kaicho. I really love it.
Well, Prime Minister Suga has said that he hopes it will be a historic Olympics. Meshida, do you think that this will be a historic Olympics?
Of course. It's like a historic Olympics. No spectators, That's amazing. And then, I know because you guys always talk, once we decided, we can't stop it. And then, now, I can call this Olympic Kamikaze Olympic, We already decided to attack America. I know we will lose, but we have to do it. We show our greatness. Let's do it. Something like that.
That is perhaps the darkest we've ever gotten with our Olympic commentary.
In the analogy, who is America? These kamikaze pilots are circling back on Japan.
Yeah, maybe we don't have enemy now. Who is the enemy? IOC, no. They're my boss. Where will you go? Where will we go? I don't know, Yeah, we don't know actually, we want to do kamikaze, but we don't know the target. That's now, I think the situation in Japan. Yeah, but I think now all Japanese people think, okay, it's 2 weeks, kind of. Not all, but some Japanese people change our mind, because even though before they were against Olympics, now we just have 2 weeks and we already decided to do it. Okay, shoganai, let's do it. Something like that.
Yeah, there was actually a lot of talk about this in the idea that once Japanese people started seeing that they were going to do it anyway, the opposition numbers would drop. Once they got used to the idea of seeing, the athletes were in the country, they'd already crossed the border, the Olympics were underway, that 83% don't do the Olympics percentage would drop. And it did.
And then I think funny thing is like now a lot of commentator, our kind of TV casters say, oh my god, we will organize Olympic under this situation. I can believe it. Many people say that in the TV shows, but maybe after studied Olympics, they changed. Oh, that's amazing! He get the gold medal, amazing! Our media changed a lot, maybe.
Yeah,
that's the things. That will happen, definitely, yeah.
Expect to see the same thing on the podcast as well, when Ollie and I do our America and England gold medal roundup.
Yeah. That's why maybe 2 weeks later, our TV shows will change, their stance, let's go Olympic. Let's more get medals. Just, you know, that's 2 weeks. Some people kind of complain about it. But 2 weeks later, most of the people stop complaining about just like enjoy watching Olympic.
If the question is going to be who's going to win the most gold at this year's Olympics, I think it's the IOC and Dentsu. But
yeah. So maybe we should change it like a IOC pick, you know, something like that. Not Olympic, you know. This is for IOC. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. It's made it very, very clear that this is being done for the benefit of the IOC. And what was it? I think in that conference where Baha Kaicho said that Japanese people are Chinese, he talked about it being, he framed it in terms of that the IOC will not give up on the Olympics because they don't want to abandon the athletes and their dreams. They're doing it for the athletes and their dreams.
Yeah, and one thing that can be said about these athletes is one of their dreams is that the share price of Dentsu appreciates.
So, Meshida, last thing on our total Olympic news roundup from the last 2 weeks. We have to talk about this elevator story. Did you see the story of the hotel with the elevator that had a foreigners only sign and a Japanese only sign? They segregated their elevators. As a Japanese person, what did you think when you saw this news?
To be honest, recently this kind of news often happens. You know, we call foreigners, you know, gaikokujin, and we try to separate Japanese and foreigners. Yeah, and then
because of COVID, right? There's a lot of news because of COVID. You know, don't eat with foreigners. Foreigners aren't allowed to use this restaurant. We do see a lot of stories like this.
Yeah. That's when it comes to these hotel problems. I think they try to separate like people, kind of Olympic stuffs. People come from like abroad because of Olympics, and they want to separate kind of those two, but they just use gaikokujin senyo. I don't know why. They are obviously gaikokujin, but they have to care about that. But we Japanese think, okay, foreigners or gaijin, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So
in that sense, it's not a racist. It's very normal things, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. That mode of thinking is the problem, and I kind of see both perspectives here. Where, on one hand, the fact that it doesn't occur to Japanese people that there are foreigners who live here. You know, when they say we want to say people who are visiting because of the Olympics, okay, we'll just say foreigners. And they forget about the fact that there are foreigners who are residents. There are foreigners who aren't here for the Olympics. We've talked about this on the show numerous times. It's a huge issue. That way of thinking is the problem that exists kind of behind the scenes that creates these issues. But at the same time, I saw a huge explosion on Twitter where it was like, this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I kind of feel like after all of the movements we've seen over the last handful of years, the Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, the climate change protests and things like that, the gaijin community in Japan going, this sign on this elevator being the straw that breaks the camel's back. Right. I don't know. I don't know.
It's like you mean my Japanese brethren has to take the stairs? That's it. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But so Bobby-san, what do you think? What should I do? Because actually, maybe we don't know how to treat foreigners. You know, that's a problem.
Well, so I think that the problem, and I'm glad you asked me because this is my area. I enjoy telling Japanese people how to treat foreigners. I think that the problem is just that zente, that pre-existing idea in Japanese people's mind that foreigner equals someone who doesn't live here, someone who's not from here. And so if you have, you know, a Tokyo resident who happened to stay in that hotel, or, you know, someone visiting Tokyo who happened to stay in that hotel who was not related to the Olympics, that's very offensive. And also because other countries have this long history of segregation, of, you know, whites only signs or you know, black water fountain signs, these kinds of things. It conjures up these images and these memories of much more hardcore discrimination.
Yeah.
And I think it's asking a lot to expect Japanese people to be aware of all of that constantly, especially when the hotel is receiving specific guidelines saying you need to separate out your Olympic gaijin.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do absolutely agree with the people on Twitter who are going, the issue is that Japanese mentality behind it, the Japanese mode of thinking that says everybody who doesn't look like us is a foreigner, and we can refer to them that way.
Okay, so but I think it's okay. I think if we can't use the words gaikokujin, gaijin, or listen, maybe we call all white people Americans. What do you think? It's okay, gaijin or American, which you prefer? That's a choice, maybe.
Well, I mean, certainly, there's an argument to encourage all the Americans to take the stairs anyway. Hey, thanks very much for listening to this episode 91 of Japan by River Cruise. We normally have an episode every single Friday. We look forward to seeing you on board.
And thank you to our guest this week, Meshida. Meshida, you're very, very funny. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, Bobby Ori-san, thank you very much. And if you are interested in my comedy, I have a YouTube channel. Please check it out.
It's brilliant. Let's do a quick quiz before you go. Which video has the top-rated comment, "You saved me a lot of frustration and money. I just cancelled my flight to Tokyo and booked a trip to Bangkok instead"?
Wow.
Do you know?
So that's a video. Why Japanese brothels don't accept foreigners. That's my most popular video. Yeah.
It's got 1 million views.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. And after you've watched that video and given up on your trip to the brothel, we will see you next week.